This reading is from Rays of the Same Light by Swami Kriyananda, and this is a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita entitled Right Discipleship. This passage is from the 4th chapter. Open thyself to those who have attained wisdom. They will be thy teachers. Ask questions of them, both verbally and mentally. Serve them faithfully and with devotion. How is the devotee to recognize one who has attained wisdom? The Bhagavad Gita gives us this inspiring description of the sage. By this sign is he known, being of equal grace to comrades, friends, chance comers, strangers, lovers, enemies, aliens, and kinsmen, loving all alike, evil or good. Here the Bhagavad Gita teaches the attitudes of the sincere devotee. It is common for seekers nowadays to reject the need for discipleship altogether. Steeped in ego consciousness, they confuse self-affirmation with soul freedom, and discipleship with ruthless manipulation on the part of the teacher, and mindless subservience on that of his disciples. What would be the point of even starting the spiritual journey if there were no chance of ever developing spiritually? Assuming that development is in fact possible, is it not absurd to imagine that everyone whose life is dedicated to finding God must, by very virtue of his dedication, be a fraud? In simple truth, the greatest human beings are those whose lives are the most perfectly attuned to God's will, and who channel his love most perfectly to others. It is, of course, true also that many students submit themselves too readily to training under people who are unfit to teach. If one succeeds in finding a teacher, however, whose wisdom includes humility and who wants nothing of his students but their highest welfare, certainly there are such people to be found, even in worldly walks of life, he will be wise to consider the possibility of receiving serious training under him. The neophyte in every walk of life needs guidance and instruction from others of greater experience. The aspiring artist needs to study under a competent artist. The novice musician needs to learn from another who is qualified in music. Even on a jungle safari, one needs a guide who is familiar with the trails. The task of finding a true spiritual teacher is rendered easier, in a sense, by the fact that God consciously answers the true devotee's prayers and sends him help according to his needs. As a well-known saying puts it, when the disciple is ready, the teacher appears. When a teacher's manifest purpose is selflessly to share with others the truths that he knows and to draw people to God alone, rather than to himself, he may at least be trusted. If the seeker further feels a deep inward affinity with him, he will do well to establish a relationship with him as a student and learn from him, as the Gita prescribes here, always with faith above all in God. Openness to the guidance of the wise is essential for the spiritual aspirant. Only by attunement with one of deep wisdom can a person acquire wisdom himself. It must, moreover, be an attunement in humility. That student who imagines that his spiritual gains will be greater if he continually voices his own opinions or attempts to engage the teacher in outward debate will never be able to rise above his own thought processes. Wise, rather, is that humble disciple who opens his heart and mind to receive. The over-intellectual student fails to realize that true teaching is a sharing on soul levels and not a sharing of mere ideas. Receptivity is the door through which divine understanding can enter into human consciousness. The Gita says here to ask questions, not with words only, but above all in the silence of inner communion. Wisdom is not achieved through unquestioning acceptance. Right attitude in the disciple concerns not whether to ask, but how to ask. The worthy student doesn't want to block the flow of divine inspiration by the intrusion of his ego. He seeks rather to drink ever more deeply from the fountain of intuitive truth. He knows that opinions, whether his own or anyone else's, are but sparks compared to the blazing sun of truth, and that truth lies beyond human ideation. Serving the teacher, the final practice recommended in this passage, is another important means of transcending ego consciousness and of opening oneself in deeper attunement to the wisdom and inspiration flowing to the disciple through the teacher. Service is a means of making more practical and concrete the disciple's efforts to receive truth. By service, his commitment is preserved from becoming passive. By service to the teacher, his consciousness becomes vitally, ever increasingly creative and aware, and thus capable of attuning itself to the spirit in cosmic consciousness. To find God, then, the essentials are these: faith, openness, questioning with complete sincerity, and a spirit of humble service. Such, the Bhagavad Gita tells us, are the attitudes of a true disciple, of true discipleship. They are necessary in everyone with a sincere longing to know God. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Oh, oh, oh.
Good morning, everyone. So nice to see you. This is a really important topic. It comes down to, do I need a guru, and how does a disciple behave rightly? And it's such a blessing to have the guidance of our gurus. And I especially love the chapter from Autobiography of a Yogi about Babaji, which I'm going to read. There's a couple fun stories of disciples with Babaji. And that reminds me that, we've got this month is in honor of Babaji, because we have Babaji Commemoration Day on the 25th. And that's actually on a Tuesday, but we're having a Kriya initiation for those who have already received Kriya, a Kriya renewal called on the Saturday before that. And on Sunday, we're going to have a 3-hour meditation. And so it'll be a nice time to meditate together. As you can see, this room feels so deep. And it's really actually, even though we're here and we're meditating and doing spiritual things, it's also fun. And so when we're together like this, there's a sense of inner fun, at least, or in here. And so anyway, I'm going to read from Autobiography of a Yogi. This is from chapter 33, entitled Babaji, the Yogi Christ of Modern India. So, two amazing incidents of Babaji's life are known to me, Kebalananda went on. Oops, I need my glasses. Thanks. His disciples were sitting one night around a huge fire which was blazing for a sacred Vedic ceremony. The master suddenly seized a burning log and lightly struck the bare shoulder of a chela who was close to the fire. "Sir, how cruel!" Lahiri Mahashaya, who was present, made this remonstrance. "Would you rather have seen him burn to ashes before your eyes according to the decree of his past karma?" With these words, Babaji placed his healing hand on the chela's disfigured shoulders. "I have freed you tonight from painful death. The karmic law has been satisfied through your slight suffering of fire." On another occasion, Babaji's sacred circle was disturbed by the arrival of a stranger. He had climbed with astonishing skill to the nearly inaccessible ledge near the camp of the master. "Sir, you must be the great Babaji." The man's face was lit with inexpressible reverence. "For months, I have pursued a ceaseless search for you among these forbidding crags. I implore you to accept me as a disciple." When the great guru made no response, the man pointed to the rocky chasm at his feet. "If you refuse me, I will jump from this mountain. Life has no further value if I cannot win your guidance to the divine." "Jump then," Babaji said unemotionally. "I cannot accept you in your present state of development." The man immediately hurled himself over the cliff. Babaji instructed the shocked disciples to fetch the stranger's body. When they returned with the mangled form, the master placed his divine hand on the dead man. Lo, he opened his eyes and prostrated himself humbly before the omnipotent one. "You are now ready for discipleship," Babaji beamed lovingly on his resurrected chela. "You have courageously passed a difficult test. Death shall not touch you again. Now you are one of our immortal flock." Then he spoke his usual words of departure, "Dara Danda Utau." The whole group vanished from the mountain. An avatar lives in the omnipresent spirit. For him, there is no distance inverse to the square. Only one reason, therefore, can motivate Babaji in maintaining his physical form from century to century: the desire to furnish humanity with a concrete example of its own possibilities. So I'm going to say that again: the desire to furnish humanity with a concrete example of its own possibilities. Were man never vouchsafed a glimpse of divinity in the flesh, he would remain oppressed by the heavy Mayic delusion that he cannot transcend his mortality. So such a wonderful topic. You know, it's perhaps nice that Yoganandaji doesn't require the same of us. You're not coming into the room and we grab the fire ceremony and burn you with the bowl. But you know, Babaji also had the power to put his hand on the wound and immediately heal it. And we also don't have to throw ourselves off cliffs at this point in our spiritual progress in order to pursue our God. But you have to think about it. You know, it's easy to read those stories, especially the story about the guy who throws himself over the cliff, to think, well, if I encountered Babaji, I could do the same. But this man was no extremist. He didn't just have blind faith and then say, I'm throwing myself over the thing. We don't do pictures during satsang, Elango. He doesn't, we think we can just have blind faith and then do those things, you know, from an intellectual point of view. Like, okay, I could make the choice. I could choose to throw myself over the ledge. But in actuality, first of all, luckily, Yoganandaji is not asking that of us. But that man had to be a very advanced soul, because we also don't throw our lives away. You know, we wouldn't be able to do it with the right attitude. And obviously, he was entering a group of people who were immortal. And so the minimum requirements of Babaji's group is immortality. And so, you know, the rules are different for those types of people. And Babaji comes down as an avatar, but certainly these people are very advanced and can just disappear off of a mountain and appear in other cases. I love how Mataji, Babaji's sister, is included often in some of the stories as well. and gives a Divine Mother element of everything with that. But it does tell us where we may very well be someday. And, you know, when Master said Kriya Band should try and pursue becoming Jivan Muktas in this lifetime, you know, he's saying that out of a knowledge about people who take Kriya Yoga, but we can't accept that blindly either. It takes so much energy to pursue this path. And it's easy for our willpower to putter out and kind of spin our wheels and dip into lower energy and not be able to kind of continue to do things. But really, a lot of the times we go through cycles. You know, we get our energy up and we're really doing it well. And then sometimes we get hit with a bunch of karma that makes us feel a certain way, makes us dip in our meditation practice. But also a reason for that can also be we have to begin to do life in a different way. You know, very often when we first start discipleship, there is a blind obedience type of attitude, because how much experience do we have in this lifetime? Now, some can reach back, and probably all of us are reaching back into past lives when we come to this life and realize Yoganandaji is our guru and that we want Kriya Yoga. And even when we're practicing Kriya Yoga, we're reaching back to past accomplishments, past spiritual accomplishments in past lives that give us the inspiration we have now. And so, but that takes experience. And so we begin the path with this blind obedience and also a preconception of what it means to be a yogi. I see this all the time in classes, and we try and live to an outer way of being that we haven't integrated inwardly how this path really is yet. We just think it should look a certain way for us, and that now that we're meditating, it should be a certain way, and it's based on an intellectual concept of how things are. But then we begin to have experience that helps deepen our relationship with the guru. This morning we had the theme in our purification ceremony, really Dharmarajan began it, of speaking about openness. And in the reading, there's discussion on the openness to the guru. And it's very easy to say, well, I agree with the readings. I agree with what Yoganandaji says. I agree. Therefore, I'm open. But I was saying earlier, openness can't just be something you just proclaim. True openness comes with getting rid of our resistance. And resistance to what the guru, how he is guiding us. And it's very obvious how he's guiding us in a lot of ways, because it is in the teachings, especially about being kind to others and to open the heart and to share that love with the divine. These are requirements Yoganandaji has given us. These aren't just suggestions. And yet it takes a long time to truly open the heart, to truly be receptive, to be able to say, I'm in pain now, but I hear that guidance. It's telling me to go towards the pain. I'm afraid, but I'll do it because I hear that guidance. And then it turns out to be the shortest route to success. And so that takes real trust in the guru. And that takes time to build. And you can trust you can test your resistance. we're being tested all the time. That resistance is being tested. First of all, when we know we should be doing something else other than what we're doing. When we're doing something wrong and we know we shouldn't be, and we hear Master's voice in our head, but we do it anyway, that shows a resistance to the guru. That's a resistance. And so, so we want to reduce the resistance. And you can't jump from resistant to open without working through some things. But you can find that you become less resistant to the point of where you begin opening, to the point of where you feel your heart open, where that becomes a priority, that your heart must be open. There's no way you can feel God's presence without an open heart. But that resistance also can block our ability to feel God's presence as well. So we want to get rid of that resistance. We have our resistance tested every time we have a very difficult thing happen to us. What is our reaction? That's another clue to our level of resistance. Is our reaction to get mad at God, get mad at the guru for this happening? How dare it happen, you know? And I became a disciple because I'm supposed to be protected from anything bad happening ever again. And so why did this bad thing happen? What good is the guru's protection if I'm not protected? Well, what does it mean to be protected by the guru? Well, it's talked about in this chapter. Babaji burned the guy lightly, but it disfigured him. So he might have said it was a light burn, but it was burned enough to disfigure the guy. And so Babaji said, look, I was protecting you from a terrible death by fire, and you'll never have to do that. He helped take on the karma of the situation of that man. And so that is what he's doing to us, and we just never know the depth that he's doing it. Sometimes we find out later, maybe a car accident. Sometimes it's obvious. You're in a car accident and you come out and you're fine. And you go, wow, I was really protected by the guru. That's an obvious one. But there's other things that challenge us. The loss of loved ones, of a child, of a parent. That loss. Why did they have to be taken away so early? There's loss of job, there's these losses that happen, and we go, Master, you were supposed to protect me and always make sure I have a good job and this and that. And Master might be saying, well, I actually did protect you, because it turns out that's actually a horrible job for you. And here's another job over here. It may take some time to find that job, what's going to be the best thing. So it takes a while sometimes to figure out that some of the circumstances in life are to guide us in the direction we need to go. And even loss teaches us things, teaches us to not only believe that what's in our skin, we're in our skin, we're in our bodies. That person who just left the body is still there. They've only crossed over a threshold. I feel as though Yoganandaji is constantly reminding us that, look, you cannot just place your happiness in other people. Meaning, we can't just depend on getting comfort from others in this life. Again and again, there's betrayal, or there's, people just needing more from us than they can give back. There's all sorts of circumstances where it's not fair, but that's just outwardly not fair. Slowly but surely, as devotees, we are being trained to place our dependence for comfort, for security, all in the hands of Master and the divine. And that means also when we're meditating, we feel the bliss, we feel the love that emanates from the Guru to us. And that gives us the experience which leads to the faith of knowing that the Guru is there for us. It's a complex thing. This isn't really a talk for the brand new disciples so much, because it's once you have years of experience that you really know, yeah, I can really have my faith challenged, or yeah, I can really have questions in my head about what's really going on here. But the first thing we need to do is learn to not compete with each other, to stop trying to step on other people's heads to get to where you're going. That, the affirmation was non-injury. As soon as we start stepping on others to get what we want, or pushing people out of the way, or forcing people to behave a certain way, then we're doing injury to others. So the first thing is stop doing injury to other people, and maybe you'll see less injury come back to you. As disciples, sometimes we're given the opportunity of having instant karma. So, we have a bad attitude, we say nasty things to other people, we do bad things to other people, thinking, what, I just wanted things to be a certain way. And then suddenly, something else happens that seems out of the blue. Like, why did that person just scream at me, or whatever it happens? And then you're like, huh, what just happened? That's so unfair. But, just a while ago, you were doing the same thing to someone else. And it's especially difficult in families that are yelling at each other all the time. We've known quite a few people who need to heal from their families, and Dharmarajan and I included. Just families that just want you to obey and bend, and just, make them your first priority and only priority, and you will not have your own will, and you will just be the way I want you to be. Gosh, that's hard for a devotee, isn't it? We have so many people coming here who suffer from that in their families. And we just met with some people the other day who were in that kind of situation. As a devotee, what do? Well, sometimes you have to just separate yourself. Sometimes it's important to do that. You can do it politely. You can do it without announcing it. You can just suddenly not be available. You can suddenly just not be free on that day, or you're free for 5 minutes and sorry, I have a work obligation, or something to protect yourself. And you cannot find God if you are under the spell of someone in your family who holds you hostage. You just can't. And the first step is to never be one of those people. Very often people feel they have to climb the ladder of who's the eldest man in the family, and finally you get to be it. And now I can really tell people what to do because I was told what to do my whole life. Finally, finally I get to do it. But that's not real power. And it won't fulfill you. And it won't bring you what you need. So, but as a disciple, it's very important to have your own inner life, your own world that is touched by no one. I was singing the chant, I own nothing, I am free. In myself, I am free. I need nothing, I am free. In myself, I am free. And so those words, I remember when I was first on the path, I would sing them with fire and relish. And, I felt extreme fire when I first got on the path. But that fire has to be tempered over time. Otherwise, you become a straw fire and then it just whimpers out. We have people like that come here. They'll come here, they seem, on fire, and then suddenly you just never see them again. They get Kriya, and then life takes them away or whatever it is. And then you just don't see them, or they only come every other month or twice a year or something like that. And of course, everyone's considered part of Master's family who has taken discipleship and comes. But, how well are people really doing when they're not checking in here? Are you starting to make up what the path is for yourself? When we had classes online only, we found that when, you're in your own home at the luxury of your desk, looking into the camera, thinking about other things. We had one woman who had a computer here and a computer here, and she was going, and I said, is everything okay? Yes, yes. And then I even had someone call her and say, what's going on here? No, everything's fine. It was just like, oh my gosh. Anyway, the stories we can tell of online teaching. Can you see there's not that many online things going on these days where it's only online from us? No way. No way. Human relationships are like this. They are not like this. They're not. You cannot build spiritual community by being far away off some camera. You can't build spiritual community by posting a quote in a group. That is not spiritual community. We are here to provide friendships between everybody as spiritual, not to compete, not to think, not to compare spiritual progress of yourself with others. This is a place to learn how to cooperate, meaning how to like others. Some people have to start out there. How do I even like someone else? I'm so used to just thinking of them as someone I compete with. How do I actually like someone else? Well, you can go up to someone you don't know and ask them about themselves. Wow, what a thing to do, And that's the beginning of developing something called a friendship. And so this place is about spiritual friendship here. And you cannot know how fulfilling that can be. And it provides a basis of spiritual connection. When we meditate together, we are immediately connecting on some level that way. That's why when you're out and about in the city and you see a fellow disciple that you may not know their name, but you look in their eyes and you can see, one of my own. And it's not a selfish thing to say, one of my own, really, because Master's children are Master's children. And, we're all part of one big family. So, discipleship takes a lot of work. And if you hit a bump, try to say, what would my best friend say to me? And then realize that's Yoganandaji, that's Divine Mother, that's Swamiji. What would my best friend say to me in this situation? Not, why did God have to do that to me? Why didn't the guru give me what I wanted? Wanting things and the desire for things is very powerful. I want it this way and I want it that way. And it's a very powerful attachment to want things to be a certain way. And it really blocks our ability to be open to hearing the guidance of the divine, to hear, what does Master really want of me? And, you know, you can come, you can take discipleship and then live your own life, and then you get everything you want except spiritual progress. You know, of course, we're progressing sooner or later. I think there's even a karma of spiritual progression that happens, but you don't get to God without putting out energy of love, energy of compassion, energy of friendship. You know, Sri Yukteswarji says, until you've won the love of man, you can't win the love of God. So that's a big deal. That means actually caring about other people. And it's hard, I think, sometimes if there's a lot of people, it's like, I got to make sure I get my own. But that needs to relax. That only causes so much tension in the body. And instead, why not just relax into the beautiful vibration that's here and just say, everyone's my friend. Yogananda or Swamiji wrote a song. I used to teach music in our Ananda school, and it's all the world is my friend. Yeah. All the world is my friend when I learn how to share my love, when I spread out my arms and sing, when I something from above, when I live from above. But these are songs that the children are taught so that they can look at someone and think, hey, you're my friend too. You know, to just have this innocent openness is such a beautiful feeling. And it helps the love in the heart flow. If you can instantly feel your love for the divine, great, you should do that. But it never excludes love for the humans because it radiates. Soon as you love the divine, anyone around you will feel love coming to them and through them. If you are just, I am a yogi, I am just strict, I am just this way, I meditate, I need nothing, I am free in myself, I am free, I need no one, I am free. You know, when you sing it with that attitude, you know, that's different than an observer who says, I need nothing, I am free in myself, I am free. I need no one, I am free in myself, I am free. That's the energy of that song. It's not, I'm a yogi in the cave and I don't need anyone. You know, that's past life. You know, we are given this life of a householder and stuck with it. You know, what does discipleship truly mean? It does not necessarily mean that you are a monk or nun. And you should get out of your head that I can only get free if I'm really just like the blue people or the yellow people in this room. You know, that's some people think that, believe it or not. And this whole idea of renunciation happens, you know, we happen to have a karma that allows us to do this. He has a karma that allows him to do that. Householders, which is the way we lived for, you know, many, many years, that's due to a karma that you have to fulfill. But none of those have to do with whether you will actually get free. You can get free this way, that way, this way. That's why Swamiji brought this work. That's why Babaji brought this work. That freedom does not have to look a certain way. You know, if you think monk in a cave, you know, finally when I retire, I'll be able to meditate all day. And then I'm pursuing God. No, no, no. Pursuing God is much more than sitting in meditation all day long, especially if you haven't been practicing meditation as deeply, and then suddenly you have this expectation that if I just do it longer, then I'll finally feel it. Then I'll finally feel the depth. No, the depth begins today if it hasn't already begun. That depth begins in your half-hour meditation, in your 45-minute meditation, in your 1, your 2, your 3-hour meditation. That's where the depth has to start for you to find that, okay, now I meditate 7 hours and I actually felt good through the whole thing, not, you have to build up not your strength to not move. You are building up your strength to feel love pouring out of you for those 7 hours, pouring out of you, that bliss overtaking you. That's what we're pursuing. We are not just pursuing some outer lifestyle that is only, you better meditate, right? You better meditate as long as you meditate. We've told you to meditate an hour and a half, do it. That's important to do to obtain Kriya and to continue with Kriya. But that's not how you are judged in life. People will often come and will say, how are you doing? Well, my meditation isn't quite as good as I want it to be. It's like, that's not how you are doing. How you are doing it. How is life? How are you dealing with life? All these other things. What's going on with your life? We don't care about how perfect your meditation is. We do care for your higher good, and we are all here to meditate. But the way one is judged or whatever just because you can meditate doesn't qualify you to teach or anything. It's like millions of people in the world can meditate. It doesn't mean I am now a special person and can do certain things because I meditate. Meditation here is like, yeah, I meditate too. Yeah, he meditates and he meditates and he meditates. There's no, I'm a good meditator, therefore. There's none of that. There's no ladder to climb with meditation. It's between us and God. If it's just between us and how everyone sees us and how much we say we're meditating and how great we are with it, that gets you nowhere. It's just between us and God. It's a secret how long we meditate. It's a secret how well we meditate. It's a sacred thing that we hold dear in our hearts. And if someone starts telling you about their meditation, just turn around and walk away. Unless you're sharing, I don't know, something useful about it. I've never really shared with a friend about meditation because you don't want to be telling each other your special experiences that have happened at all. That will make it dissipate out of you, the special experience. So anyway, this is a day perhaps to think about our discipleship, to think about going deeper. And also one more thing, stop asking when will I get free? Being free involves loving God completely and utterly. That's what we work on now. There's no when in that. Loving God ever more perfectly, loving others ever more perfectly. We can do that now. And when we are caught up in that love and caught up in the bliss around that love, you don't even think twice about when. You don't think twice about when will it happen, because you're already in the process of getting there. And freedom is loving God more and more and more. That's what it is, until you're enveloped in that love. And meditation really helps. Meditation is a tool in the tool belt that helps us on all levels. And, like Lahiri-ji said, it solves all problems. So that's where we are. But again, it's a private thing. It's a thing inside ourselves only. It's sacred. It's beautiful. And so anyway, we wish all of you deeply blissful and beautiful meditation experiences inside, Okay.